So a molecule or pathogen that is capable of eliciting an immune response is known as antigen. An antigen may be a virus, a bacterial cell wall, an individual protein, or any other molecule. A complex antigen may be bound by several different antibodies, but individual antibody or T cell receptor binds only a particular structure or particular molecular structure within the antigen, and that particular structure is known as antigenic determinant or epitope. For example, in this structure of antigen, only this particular structure binds to antibody, and this particular structure is known as epitope. But when the molecule having molecular weight less than 5000, generally not antigenic. Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. So in my last video we have discussed regarding the reversible binding of protein to a ligand, and we have seen how the conformations of oxygen binding proteins affect and are affected by the binding of a small ligand such as oxygen or carbon dioxide molecule to the heme group. In this video, we are going to discuss about the complementary interactions between proteins and ligands, and it is immunoglobulins which performs their functions by complementary interactions between proteins and ligands. And we will also discuss how an immune system of vertebrates capable of distinguish molecular self from non-self and then destroying what is identified as non-self. Leukocytes are the central player of immune system, as they help to protect the body against foreign substances, microbes and infectious diseases. Leukocytes are also known as white blood cells or WBC. Leukocytes are of two types, macrophages and lymphocytes. And both macrophages and lymphocytes develop from undifferentiated stem cells in the bone marrow. Lymphocytes are of two types, B lymphocytes, which is also known as B cells, and T lymphocytes, which is also known as T cells. B lymphocytes or B cells so named because they complete their development in the bone marrow, whereas T lymphocytes or T cells so named because the later stages of their development occurs in the thymus. T lymphocytes or T cells is again of two types, and it is cytotoxic or killer T cells, which is designated as TC, and another one is the helper T cells, which is designated as TH. So now the question is how all these cells perform their function in immune response. So macrophages performs their functions by ingesting large particles and cells by phagocytosis, whereas B lymphocytes or B cells performs their function by production and secretion of antibodies, whereas cytotoxic T cells or killer T cells or TC cells performs their functions by interacting with infected host cells through receptors on the T cell surface, whereas helper T cells or TH cells performs their functions by interacting with macrophages and secretes cytokines that includes interleukin that stimulates TC cells, TH cells and B cells to proliferate. The immune response consists of two complementary systems, the humoral immune systems and the cellular immune systems. So the humoral immune systems is directed at bacterial infections and extracellular viruses found in the body fluid. It can also respond to individual foreign proteins. The humoral immune system is mediated by soluble proteins, which is known as antibodies or immunoglobulins. Immunoglobulins is designated as Ig. So immunoglobulins bind bacteria, viruses or large molecules that identified as foreign molecules and target them for destruction. Immunoglobulins make up the 20% of the blood protein, and it is produced by B lymphocytes or B cells. Whereas the cellular immune system destroys the host cells that is infected by viruses. It also destroys some parasites and foreign tissue. The cellular immune system is mediated by cytotoxic T cells and helper T cells. The cytotoxic T cells recognizes the infected cells and parasites by their T cell receptor, whereas helper T cells interact with macrophages and produce soluble signaling proteins called cytokines. The cytokines include interleukins. Therefore, we can say that the Th cells participate only indirectly in the destruction of infected cells and pathogens by stimulating the selective proliferation of those Tc cells and B cells that can bind to a particular antigen, and this process is called clonal selection. So in the process of clonal selection, there is an increase in the number of immune system cells that can respond to a particular pathogen. And it is the helper T cells or Ts cells which is the primary target of HIV infection, which causes acquired immunodeficiency syndrome, that is AIDS. So following the infection of HIV, the helper T cells gets eliminated. So elimination of Ts cells progressively incapacitates the entire immune system. So as we have seen that the humoral immune system is mediated by soluble proteins which is known as antibodies or immunoglobulins, whereas the cellular immune system is mediated by cytotoxic T cells and helper T cells. So now the question is how T cell receptors present on Tc cells and antibody produced by B cells specifically binds some particular chemical structure present on the surface of a virus or bacteria or any invading cells. So in case of antibodies, humans are capable of producing more than 10 to the power 8 different antibodies with distinct binding specificities. So with this extraordinary diversity, any chemical structure on the surface of a virus or any invading cells most likely be recognized and bound by one or more antibodies. So this antibody diversity is derived from the random assembly of set of immunoglobulin gene segments through genetic recombination mechanism. And the mechanism of antibody diversity we will discuss when we will discuss the genetic recombination mechanisms. So a molecule or pathogen that is capable of eliciting an immune response is known as antigen. An antigen may be a virus, a bacterial cell wall, an individual protein, or any other molecule. A complex antigen may be bound by several different antibodies, but individual antibody or T cell receptor binds only a particular structure or particular molecular structure within the antigen, and that particular structure is known as antigenic determinant or epitope. For example, in this structure of antigen, only this particular structure binds to antibody, and this particular structure is known as epitope. But when the molecule having molecular weight less than 5000, generally not antigenic. So in this case, this small molecule is covalently attached to large protein, and the combined molecule is used to elicit an immune response. So in this case, this small molecule is known as hapten, and it is the hypervariable loop within the variable domain that is responsible for the binding of antigen to the antibody. Despite so much diversities among antibodies, overall in vertebrates there are 5 classes of immunoglobulins such as IgA, IgD, IgE, IgG and IgM. And each of these class of immunoglobulin has their characteristic type of heavy chain, such as IgA has alpha chain, IgD has delta chain, IgE has epsilon chain, and IgG has gamma chain, IgM has mu chain. And 2 types of light chain occur in all classes of immunoglobulins, either kappa or lambda. And regarding the function of immunoglobulins, so all these classes of immunoglobulins has their unique function except IgD, because the unique function of IgD is not yet clear. Immunoglobulin G, that is IgG. IgG is one of the major class of antibody molecule, and it is one of the most abundant protein in the blood serum. And this is the figure that represents the structure of IgG molecule. From this figure, we can find that IgG is made up of 4 polypeptide chains, as you can see here. And out of these 4 polypeptide chains, 2 is heavy chain and 2 is light chain. And both heavy chain and light chains are linked by non-covalent and disulfide bonds. The heavy chain of an IgG molecule interact at one end and then branches to interact separately with the light chain. And finally, the structure form is bicep structure. In this bicep structure, there is a hinge region, and this hinge region separates the base of an IgG molecule from its branches, as you can see here. Another interesting point about the hinge region is that immunoglobulins can be cleaved with any proteases at this hinge region. So cleavage of IgG molecule with one of the protease, that is papain, liberates the basal fragment and the two branch fragment. The basal fragment is known as Fc fragment or fragment of crystallization because it crystallizes readily. And the branch fragment is known as Fab fragment or antigen binding fragment. As you can see here, both branch fragment has single antigen binding site. Another important point regarding IgG is each chain of IgG molecule is made up of identifiable domains. Means some are constant in sequence in structure from one IgG to another, which is known as constant domain, whereas some are variable in sequence and structure from one IgG to another, which is known as variable domain. As IgG is made up of two different types of chain, that is heavy chain and light chain. In heavy chain, there are three constant domains, that is CH1, CH2 and CH3. And each light chain has single constant domain, that is Cl. Whereas each light chain and heavy chain have single variable domain, that is VH and VL. VH in heavy chain and VL in light chain. The variable domain of heavy chain and light chains interact or associate together to create antigen binding site. The variable domains of both the heavy chain and light chains associate together to form antigen binding site, as you can see here. And there is a single antigen binding site in each of the branch chain. And it is the hypervariable loop within the variable domain which is responsible for the binding to the antigen. The interesting point regarding IgG is it is major antibody in secondary immune responses which are initiated by a class of B cells called memory B cells. So when IgG is binds to an invading bacterium or virus, it activates certain lymphocytes such as macrophages either to engulf or destroy the invader or activate some other parts of the immune response. Immunoglobulin M, that is IgM. IgM is the first antibody to be made by B lymphocytes, and it is one of the major antibody which is present in the early stages of a primary immune response, whereas in secondary immune response the major antibody is IgG. IgM occurs in both monomeric form and pentameric form. The monomeric form of IgM is present as a membrane bound form, whereas pentameric form of IgM is generally present in secreted form, that is cross-linked with disulfide bond, as you can see here. And it is the J chain which is the characteristic feature of IgM because this J chain is present exclusively in IgM. Immunoglobulin A, that is IgA. IgA is formed principally in secretions such as saliva, tears and milk. It can be monomer, dimer or trimer. Immunoglobulin E, that is IgE. IgE plays an important role in allergic responses and it interacts with basophil in the blood and with histamine secreting cells which is also known as mast cells. The Fc region of IgE binds to the special Fc receptor which is present on basophils or mast cells, and in this form IgE serves as a receptor for antigen. So when antigen binds to IgE, the cells are induced to secrete histamines and other biologically active amines that causes dilation and increased permeability of blood vessels. So the dilation and increased permeability of blood vessels are thought to facilitate the movement of immune system cells and proteins to site of inflammation. They are also produced to symptoms that is normally associated with allergies. Now coming to the binding specificity of an antibody. So the question here is, what factors determine the binding specificity of an antibody? So the binding specificity of an antibody is determined by the amino acid residue which is present in the variable domain of the heavy chain and light chain of the antibody molecule. Many residues in these domains are variable, whereas some are hypervariable, especially those that lines the antigen binding site. So it is the chemical complementarity between the antigen and its specific binding site on the antibody, both in terms of shape and the location of charged non-polar and hydrogen bonding groups, that provides the specificity between antibody and antigen. For example, if a binding site have a negatively charged group, it binds to the antigen which have positive charge on its complementary position. Moreover, it is the conformational changes in the antibody or antigen that allows the complementary groups to interact perfectly, and this is the example of induced fit. And a typical antibody-antigen interaction is quite strong, and which is characterized by Kd values. The Kd values as low as 10 to the power minus 10 m. Here the Kd value reflects the energy derived from the various ionic hydrogen bonding, hydrophobic and van der Waals interactions. And the energy required to produce a Kd of 10 to the power minus 10 m is equal to approximately 65 kJ per mole. So it is the chemical complementarity between the antigen and its specific binding site which is present on the antibody, and conformational changes in the antibody and antigen that provides the specificity for antibody-antigen interaction. The antibody-antigen interaction is the basis for a variety of important analytical procedures, and it is the extraordinary binding affinity and specificity of antibodies that makes them valuable analytical reagents. And the two types of antibody preparations are in use. First one is the polyclonal antibodies and second one is the monoclonal antibodies. The polyclonal antibodies are produced by many different B lymphocytes that respond to one antigen. As it is produced by many different B lymphocytes, the polyclonal antibodies bind specifically on different epitopes within the same antigen. Therefore, we can say that polyclonal antibodies contain a mixture of antibodies that recognizes different parts of the same protein, whereas monoclonal antibodies are synthesized by a population of identical B cells grown in cell culture. As it is synthesized by a population of identical B cells, these antibodies are homogeneous, and all these antibodies recognizes the same epitope. And the technique for producing monoclonal antibodies were developed by Joseph Kohler and Cesar Milstein. Now coming to the techniques based on antibody-antigen interaction. The antibody-antigen interaction is the basis of several techniques that use to identify and quantify a specific protein in a complex sample. Both ELISA and immunoblot assay are based on a specific reaction of an antibody with its antigen, and they are used to identify and quantify a specific protein in a complex sample. An ELISA, that is enzyme-linked immunosorbent assay. An ELISA is used to rapidly screen for and quantify an antigen in a sample. In this assay, first of all, the proteins in the sample are adsorbed to an inert surface, and the inert surface is usually a 96-well polystyrene plate. So once the proteins in the sample are adsorbed to an inert surface, the surface is washed with a solution of an inexpensive non-specific protein. The non-specific protein is generally casein from non-fat dry milk powder, and the non-specific protein adsorbed to the site where proteins are not occupied on the inert surface. And the purpose of washing the surface with non-specific protein is to block proteins introduced in the subsequent steps from adsorbing to unoccupied sites. As you can see here, the white blocks represents the adsorbing of non-specific protein. So the non-specific protein already adsorbed to the unoccupied site. So it prevents the binding from the proteins that added in the subsequent steps. Now the surface is treated with Solution containing primary antibody. The primary antibody is an antibody against the protein of interest. Now the unbound primary antibody is washed away and the surface is treated with a solution containing a secondary antibody, and this secondary antibody is linked with an enzyme. The secondary antibody is the antibody against the primary antibody, and the enzyme that is linked to the secondary antibody catalyzes a reaction that forms a colored product. Now the unbound secondary antibody is washed away and the substrate of the enzyme that is linked to the secondary antibody is added, and the product formation is monitored as a colored intensity, and the product formation is proportional to the concentration of protein of interest in the sample. Means the intensity of color is proportional to the concentration of proteins in the sample, as you can see here. In an immunoblot assay, first the proteins have been separated by gel electrophoresis and then transferred electrophoretically to nitrocellulose membrane, and the membrane is then washed with a solution of non-specific protein. So after that, membrane is then treated with primary antibody, and the unbound primary antibody is washed away and the surface is treated with a solution containing a secondary antibody that is linked to an enzyme. Now the unbound secondary antibody is washed away and the substrate of the antibody linked enzyme is added, and the colored precipitate forms only along the band containing the protein of interest, as you can see here. This is the immunoblot. The bands are only formed along the protein of interest. Therefore, immunoblotting allows the detection of a minor component in a sample and provides an approximation of its molecular weight. So this is all about complementary interactions between proteins and ligands. And I hope you guys like this video informative, especially for your CSIR exam. So please do not forget to like, share and subscribe and hit the bell icon just next to the subscribe button. It just helps us to stay in touch. In my next video, I'll discuss about the protein interactions modulated by chemical energy. Especially, I'll explain the molecular mechanism of muscle contraction in detail. So, a molecule or pathogen that is capable of eliciting an immune response is known as antigen. An antigen may be a virus, a bacterial cell wall, an individual protein, or any other molecule. A complex antigen may be bound by several different antibodies, but individual antibody or T cell receptor binds only a particular structure or particular molecular structure within the antigen, and that particular structure is known as antigenic determinant or epitope. For example, in this structure of antigen, only this particular structure binds to antibody and this particular structure is known as epitope. But when the molecule having molecular weight less than 5000, generally not antigenic. So in this case, this small molecule is covalently attached to large protein and the combined molecule is used to elicit an immune response. So in this case, this small molecule is known as hapten. And it is the hypervariable loop of the antibody within the variable domain of the antibody that binds to the antigen.